We finally passed the budget for fiscal year 2019-20 tonight.
Yes, after months of work, numerous meetings, a ton of discussion, we've passed in third reading the budget for the next fiscal year. And for the county, the fiscal year starts July 1. So we approved it. It'll be going into next year. We had a ton of debate on a whole host of issues throughout. Tonight, there was general agreement on about 99% of it. There was a couple of points brought up about a 1% cut that we did across the board and that it didn't apply to the sheriff's department. There was an individual council member that wanted it in sort of a sense of equity. Other council members did not want it, but that worked itself out. Everybody was able to make their case and have a good discussion on it, and the budget passed. I think the good news in it is we make sure that our pay is right, and it's right for the job that people do, and it incentivizes people, and it's comparable to other counties. It's not too high and it's not too low.
Based on the study that was done last year by an outside consultant to make sure our people were in line.
Yeah, and that was key for us because we had heard from years that some people didn't get paid enough, and a lot of folks said they thought some folks were getting paid too much. So we got an outside consultant to come in and compare the exact job somebody did to comparable counties. If they did that type of job outside of government, what would they get paid? And so that was able for us to put people in pay bands with an incentive structure that we were paying people correctly and that we were being good stewards of taxpayer money, but that we were also taking care of the people who were doing a good job. So the second part of that went into effect. The first part went into last year. It'll be delayed by a few months and it'll go into effect October 1. We did some hiring freezes, but anytime we do a hiring freeze, I always like to tell people the caveat of if there's something very essential, we're not going to let that job not get done. We're always going to make sure that we can use discretion and make sure that we have the right people in place, but sometimes we'll freeze positions from a budgetary standpoint to make sure that we're making ends meet. A couple other key items in the budget was we had discussion on houses. And in everybody's district, I think everybody's seen them at some point in time, there are old dilapidated houses. It's not so easy just to go tear them down. A lot of times the owners live in different places. There's a legal procedure for that, but we wanted to make sure there was extra money in the budget this year because when houses like that exist, it does attract crime, it's unsightly, it can cause problems for the neighbors. So that was part of the discussion tonight. Otherwise, there was some structural moving money back and forth, transfers, how we organize departments. But the good news is this: we took care of our people. We made a strong statement in taking care of our men and women in public safety at the sheriff's department and making sure they were taken care of for the job that they do. And we did all of this without raising taxes. So that's what's always interesting through the budget process. Things will get thrown out all over the place and people will get so concerned, but it's a moving process, and ultimately people in my district, and I think people across the county, said, look, we want public safety to be a priority. We want ultimately roads to be a priority, be moving in the right direction, but at the same time we want to keep taxes low. And so this budget did that, and it'll allow us to move forward into the next fiscal year and accomplish what we want to do. But anytime you approve a budget, it's a short-lived process because ultimately we'll basically be restarting the budget process sooner than later for the next fiscal year. So that was a positive thing. A lot of hours of work on the staff's part, hours of work on the county council part, and a lot of participation from the people.
And I think I saw more backpacking, handshaking, unity among council than I normally see. You don't usually hear council members bragging on each other. I heard that tonight, and that's one of the first times I've actually heard council members thanking each other for their part in this budget.
Well, and I hope and I believe that is a tell sign of where we're at on Anderson County Council. We have some differences on council. People have some different philosophies. Everybody brings a different skill set to the table, and it's part of their background, whether or not they were in a certain industry or the experiences they have. Everybody wants to bring forth those experiences in a positive way to make priorities, to make adjustments. anytime you're allocating resources among competing ends, it can sort of pit people against each other. But one of the wonderful things about the council this year is we work together. We got frustrated with each other. I think there was times that people might have been a little angry with each other. But throughout that process, everybody was respectful of each other. Everybody took time to listen to other people's sides. Sometimes we didn't agree, but people were able to make their case. They were able to articulate it to the full crowd and say their piece, and ultimately come to an agreement on a budget. And we talked in there that no budget is perfect. No budget makes everybody happy. No budget should make everybody mad. But all budgets should take into consideration of all 7 council members who ultimately represent their 7 districts in a positive way. And I feel like we've really set the stage for strong cooperation in this county. And it doesn't mean we'll always agree. I mean, that's part of local politics. But tonight the council performed well, and they performed well with each other.
And after the budget, suddenly we had more council work to do.
Yes. Just because the budget finishes, it doesn't mean that we don't have different items on the agenda. We had 2 items that involved fee in lieu of taxes, and this is the process we speak about periodically when economic development comes to us, and it's putting new industry on the books and incentivizing them to be here and create jobs and giving them a tax break, but ultimately we recoup that money by the investment that they make in our county. So there are 2 items there that were unanimously approved. And then we actually went into 4 items that were all very similar, or really trying to accomplish the same thing. And that was in District 7. There's a number of roads, and I think we've all seen this before, where it's a residential road, or it's a smaller road, or it's a neighborhood road, and all of a sudden you're like, why in the world is a transfer truck coming down through here? Either it makes a lot of noise, either you have to veer off the road to try to save yourself from it, or it tears up the road. And so periodically council will say, we're going to pass an ordinance that certain motor vehicle is not allowed on this road. It's not always a cure-all. We put up the sign, we work with the trucking companies, we work with the industry, but ultimately if somebody persists, we have to be able to fine them. If we do fine them, we have to have an officer in place to see it happen and so on. But it's a positive step in the right direction to try to deter it. I know Ms. Wilson has been very proactive in working with the industry and some trucking associations to finding alternative routes so they can meet their goals but not come through the neighborhood. So most of the time these things are things that county council all agree on. We just try to look at all the different paths to accomplish it. So that happened on 4 different roads, and they were all unanimously passed. And then we basically ended the night like we always do. We had some comments from citizens. We had 1 comment, positive comments, and then we made a brief allocation on some recreational items from council, and then we had remarks from council. And so for a 3rd reading of a budget and also ancillary items to the county, we moved pretty efficiently. I think the meeting probably went about 2.5 hours, but we had a 10-minute break in between. And one of probably the most positive things of the night, and it was encouraging to council. I think it should be encouraging to the community. We had over 50 police officers who came to our council tonight, and it was a strong show of solidarity and unity, and it was an encouragement to see those men and women in uniform come out and support the budget, support the county council, because I know a lot of times we support them, but we don't always get to interact with them and get to see them on a daily basis. So for them to be at the council meeting tonight was a very positive thing. And we head into the new year, and we do it with optimism, and we're doing it with a spirit of cooperation. And I think good things are coming.
And our next meeting has changed. It's not going to be July 2nd.
Yes, with it being so close to July 4th, we're going to have a quick meeting on June 28th where we have to decide a contractual matter in regards to a sewer system in the northwest part of the county. And we're going to go ahead and accomplish as much business as we can on that date, because we have a meeting that was scheduled right before July 4th, and that'll allow us to skip that meeting, partly because council members want to enjoy July 4th, and partly because the public doesn't want to come out around July 4th to the council meetings. So it allows us to get business done, and then we'll get back on our regular scheduled rotation on the third Tuesday of July.